Adams at midday. A reminder, life getting back to normal is not a privilege afforded to all. Outdoor gathering restrictions have gone and people no longer need to scan in. Immunologist Anna Brooks says vulnerable people are anxious.
People are going to feel even more vulnerable if they don't feel protected by that. So we're going to see people who just choose to not participate.
The latest COVID-19 figures will be released in an hour. Ukrainian officials have reported around 300 people are dead after a Russian airstrike on a theatre in Mariupol. Last week's attack is now the deadliest so far in the war. Meanwhile, Russia claims the first phase of the war is over as its primary focus shifts to eastern Ukraine. It's hoped State Highway 2 south of storm-hit Gisborne will be able to open to one-lane traffic in an hour. There is a heavy rain watch through to 10 tomorrow morning, with the strongest falls likely in the early hours. A heavy wind watch has been cancelled. Meanwhile, the road between Tolaga Bay and Tokomaru Bay is likely to open mid-afternoon, but Tokomaru to Tapuia is still out of action. There are fears health workers may leave the profession if a pay resolution is not reached. The strike of 10,000 allied scientific and technical workers looks set to go ahead after 3 days of negotiations with district health boards reached no resolution. Public Service Association organiser Will Matthews says some are working multiple jobs to make ends meet.
We are now in an environment where some qualified health workers can get paid more in retail or fast food jobs, let alone in private healthcare or in Australia.
And driver shortages are adding to an already challenging few years for the bus and coach industry. Ritchie's chief executive, Andrew Ritchie, says staff self-isolating is problematic.
Very tight for staff all round at the moment. We've never put so much effort into recruitment, but of course we can't recruit from overseas at the moment either, and that's left a massive hole.
In sport, the White Ferns opening partnership of captains Sophie Devine and Susie Bates is over, with Devine bowled out by Pakistan's Anam Amin in the fifth over, replaced by Amelia Kerr. The score was 60 for 1 after 11 overs. Sydney Swan star Buddy Franklin has become the sixth man to kick 1,000 goals in the AFL. Franklin's goal, with 6.5 minutes left in the Swans' win over Geelong, sent the Sydney cricket...
Cool, bro. So you're going to do your intro here. I'll come out with the Shook Ones instrumental, and then after you've done your intro, you're going to throw to the Circle of Life. Is that correct?
That's it.
Occurred. And
Wicked, my dude.
H has announced his retirement from in-ring action. Last September, Triple H, whose real name is Paul Levesque, went into heart failure following a bout of viral pneumonia. Triple H is a 14-time world champion. I'm K.M. Adams from the Today FM News Network, news that moves us forward.
His goal, to destroy the tall poppy syndrome.
His platform, Today FM.
This is Robett Live.
Call 0800 Today FM.
Yes. Yes. We did it. From Amazon rainforest straight to Shook Ones. Mob beat. TT, keep that beat running. This is epic. Good everybody, what's up? It's Robett Hollis here, episode 302 of Robett Live. But we've upgraded. Next minute, mainstream. Here we are, national TV. Ladies and gentlemen, watch out. We're streaming all over the interwebs. 0800 Today FM. You want to ring through and say, what up? You can text me to 3902 or 3920. There you go, got that right. TT's about to tell me off. If you don't know who I am, kia ora, my name is Robett, not Robert, not Robey, not Robett, not Robot, Robett. It's from my grandparents' name, Ron and Betty. Comboed it together. Bam. Next thing you know there. The show Robett Live, we talk about three things. Commerce, community, and culture. I think New Zealand's at a pretty interesting tipping point, and it's important for us to think about where we're at and have better conversations for a braver New Zealand. And I also, just out of pure principle, wanted to start off with Shook One, so it just set the tone straight off about, like, this is what's popping. There's also a disclaimer. Team, I'm not a journalist. Sorry. Failed high school, didn't go to university, and here we are having a great conversation. I want to introduce TT to the mix. Ladies and gentlemen, TT is going to be the gate caller. When you ring up, you got to try and get through this dude to get to me. So the whole game plan is you need to try and get to him however you want. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. TT, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic, Robett. Very keen for this. This is exciting.
It
breaking
is.
some molds, breaking some rules.
Breaking rule. I always figure it's better definitely just to ask for forgiveness. But I wanted to let everyone know, like, TT, you're the man behind the scenes. We've like bumped up, we've beefed in. When people try to get through to me, they got to get through you. And also, TT, it's very exciting because basically anytime we're going to be having conversations through the mix, we want to be very interactive. You're very inquisitive about things, so am I. And also, I think we're both pretty motivated with the tag team combo of danger that we've got going on right now, because as we say this, I am in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. You are in Auckland, New Zealand. And we've I think we've done something pretty epic, technically, with what's actually going on here. So, but for all the viewers and stuff as well, let people know quickly who you are. TT, you're the exec weapon, but give them a quick context. Who are you? And this is going to be the tag team duo that's going to make waves and tell Brad to, step his stuff up, because we're not top 15, mate.
Yeah.
We're tag team double trouble. Go for it.
We'll get there. So I'm Tom. I'm 27, top order batsman, part-time wicketkeeper, and all-time badass, basically.
Let's go. We've already got some over-under bets between me and my friend crew of how long it's going to take for me to get either a written warning, some type of thing from HR or legal, because usually I don't think about what I say. I just usually say it, and it brings me into some interesting territory. But the goal for what we have with this show is kind of simple, right? It's how do we have a braver embed in New Zealand? And I always have this goal around, New Zealand wins when New Zealanders win. What can we do to help others, but done in a different way? And the way I kind of do it is, I've been fortunate enough to meet a whole bunch of people over my travels and to bring them in the mix to be able to get them on the show, have a chat, and be able to talk and stuff like this. So technically, it's amazing content community. Whenever you text through, it comes up on a little screen here, so I can see what you're texting as you say it. So Ruben Frizzell just asked, what whiskey are you drinking? I'm not drinking whiskey. I'm working, mate. This is apple juice. What are you talking about? Absolutely. What a shocking text to ask through. And then you can also ring up as well, 0800 Today FM. On the show today, I'm very excited. Right after this, we're going to be jumping in straight with Anna Curzon, the Chief Product Officer from Xero. We're going to be talking to some young bucks, the future leaders that are going to be starting and growing businesses in New Zealand to make it better, with Alex Livingstone from Abelro Health. Quick little business tips. And also, we've been really lucky. I think we've had a mega get. We've been able to secure in one of the biggest financial brains in New Zealand, who is Paul Conway. He's the Chief Economist for the BNZ Bank, but actually, he's now going to be the Chief Economist for the Reserve Bank. So he is basically the man that knows what's up, what's bubbling. We're going to bring him in the mix as well. That's coming up in the first hour, and then we're going to be opening up the floor for you guys to be able to, guys and girls, to be able to call in, make a call, and jump into the mix. So question for you today, before we get into it, is this. What is the best thing that's happened to you, your friends, or your whānau this week? Text it through to 3920. Share a bit of love for the morning to kick off with, and let's get into the show. Welcome to Robett Live. Giddy up.
It's Robett Live on Today FM.
How good. The best thing about this show, TT, is I can just tell you what tracks to play, and we're starting off with Lion King. Why are we starting off with the Lion King? I will tell you why, ladies and gentlemen. It's the circle of life. It's the 360. It's when you go from end to end and rolling through. Why do I say that? Why do we start with the first show? Well, I'll tell you a story. I've always played the long game. It's chess, not checkers. Years ago, I met a friend of mine called Anna. Anna was awesome. She was working at a bank. She was keeping it real. She introduced me to another guy, this guy called Dallas. Introduced me to this dude called Dallas years ago. And then me and him had a banter. It was solid. Next minute, we're boysies. Fast forward a couple of years, Anna's now running the shop over at Xero, keeping it real with the Chief Product Officer. Dallas has been brought in, and now we are on Today FM, which Dallas is helping pull together. So I thought it would be only appropriate to start off day one of something we've really got no idea what I'm doing, but we're freestyling it. We're going to be fine. It's like the first kiss for it. Is we wanted to go full circle and bring it back. So in an awesome, great meta twist, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to the show, Anna Curzon, Chief Product Officer from Xero. Full circle 360. How are you, my friend?
Oh, Robert, it's lovely to speak to you and hear your voice all the way from San Francisco. I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Are you up in Warkworth with the whānau? You keeping it real on a Saturday? What's bubbling away?
Up at the ranch. It is a beautiful, sunny, autumnal afternoon. It's very windy. I've been out in the veggie garden, picking the last of the tomatoes, planting the carrots, doing all that sort of stuff.
Did you like the introduction with the Full Circle of Life Simba soundtrack?
I did.
Did you get what?
I had my heart. It did, but my when you started playing it, I was thinking, oh man, I hope Robett's not going to ask me to sing or anything, because that would be really bad. But I love it. I remember actually, I love connecting people, and I remember, we'd been doing some business at the bank, and then at Xero, and then with Dallas, I just thought, wow, two beautiful people that are kindred spirits in terms of media, and so it was great to connect you both. And here we are today. It's the real sizzle.
I find it so awesome that things can connect through. So I guess for starters, putting the business hat on for a second, congratulations on where you're at and what you're up to. One of the wahine weapons of New Zealand tech, running the shop there with the Chief Product Officer for Xero. In a nutshell, for those that aren't aware of, I guess, who you are and what you do, give a quick little spiel to sort of where you sit in the ecosystem from a business side, because I guess, we're going to go into a bit of stuff talking about some COVID, local to global, and all the rest of it. But I think it's good for it to frame it up for a little bit. So go for it.
Yeah, for sure. So I sit on the global executive team for Xero. And for those of you who don't know who Xero is a small business platform. So we started off life as an online cloud accounting platform, and we've expanded over the years. We've got about 4,000 people globally, right through from New Zealand to Australia to New York and Washington, to London, Canada, Toronto, and Singapore as well. So we are looking to change the lives of small businesses, essentially. It's been a community that's been, not really looked after so well for a long time, and they didn't really have, a voice or a platform to be able to advocate for them. And that's our mission or purpose in life. And my role at Xero is very much about building beautiful products. So I lead the design and the product teams and the product marketing teams to make sure that we can just simplify a lot of the stuff for small businesses from a technology perspective. I'm very focused on using technology to democratize success, and that's what we want to do for small businesses, especially coming through and out of COVID. So it's a pretty cool gig. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I wouldn't say luck's a small piece, but I guess when you work your ass off, you get in the right spot, then you create more luck. The harder you work, I feel, you get in the right spots, you work hard, you do your thing. Yeah. But I wanted to maybe jump into this for a second, especially on the small business side. Not many people know 97% of Kiwi small businesses in New Zealand are small businesses with staff over under 20, right? Like small business, they talk about as the lifeblood of it, but you see that the reports come out, it's actually true. And so one of the things that I think we're probably both pretty passionate about on as well is when you have the ability to, create these breadcrumbs of like insights and education to help these businesses get better, that really does make a huge impact for New Zealand becoming better and more efficient, especially now with the wave of technology, and kind of perfect segue into this whole mini COVID conversation. Because say through COVID, as it happened, we were talking to, Clive Omerod from CEO of Les Mills, and he basically said, 3 years of digital transformation happened in 3 weeks. So many businesses didn't understand like how radically this thing was shifting out. So when you look at this ecosystem, Anna, in terms of, I guess, the transformation from a digital side with now, when you look at the landscape, how do you think technology has helped made business better through COVID, and the changes of, I guess, the mindset towards business from COVID from, say, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we've been doing a lot of work with our community, not just here in New Zealand, but around the world, because you're absolutely right. COVID, we all anticipated the changes that technology was, the benefits and the challenges that technology was going to bring the world, but actually when COVID hit, it just swung around and really hit us in the face, in a good and a bad way, I think, because businesses had to scramble and figure out how to keep trading, how to keep offering services to their customers when they'd been really predicated on having a physical space to work and being face-to-face with their customers. So we worked really closely actually here in New Zealand, and Craig Hudson, who's OMD of New Zealand, really led the charge here, working with the government and other interested parties to make sure that small businesses could have the digital tools that they needed to survive and thrive, because the problem to solve was right in front of them, right? And we knew that it would happen over time, maybe over the next sort of 5 years, more small businesses will come online. But it needed to happen, as Clive said, right, in 2 weeks. So we worked really hard to make sure that, not just encouraging businesses to go online with their accounting, but also the other supporting ecosystem partners to enable them to manage stock levels, to create an e-commerce site, to create a CRM so they could start digitally marketing with their customers online, etc. And there's very real benefits for doing that, because in a report that we did a while ago with the NZIR, and this is pre-COVID, it was clear that in terms of, New Zealand's had a productivity problem for quite some time, and it was clear that there's a correlation between businesses going online and becoming more digital and an increase in productivity. And when we did that study, we saw that, like, under normal economic conditions, a 20% uptake in cloud-based technology could increase GDP between 1 to 2%. It could be like $6.2 billion to the New Zealand economy annually. And it's also got benefits for household spending, business output, wages, etc. So we were agitating for that. And then when COVID came along, we were like, all right, we've got to lean in and make this happen. Now, even then, we found that some businesses were a little bit hesitant to go online. And we did quite a lot of behavioural research around that. And they said stuff like, what I'm doing is good enough. I'd rather stick with it. All I can see is change in front of me, and that's hard. I've got enough of that going on. And it's also too really hard to compare and understand and choose between all these digital options. And so, again, we worked with MB and others, and Francis Valentine, and part of something called Digital Boost, which is an amazing program. And if you're a small business owner and you haven't checked it out, you should, to solve this problem, to cut through the inertia and say, here's a purpose-built program for you to come along and learn about what digital tools are best for you. So I would really encourage small businesses to do that, because, we see it in our data too. If you have cloud accounting and you've got apps attached to help manage your workflows, and you're working with a really good accountant or a bookkeeper, you're going to be increasing your profits faster than others, and you'll be more resilient as well. And so all the evidence is there, Robett.
Yeah.
we just need people to be the change they want to see, so they should check out Digital Boost, because it's a great asset that we've got in New Zealand.
And I'd agree to pretty much all of it, because the main thing from a business side, especially when they're small businesses, is the efficiency of technology is going to enable you to almost have more feet on the ground through creating automation, efficiencies, and just digitization of kind of regular processes, which you can do through simple technology that's super cheap to pick up the heavy lifting of, as if it was a bunch of crew. So maybe before we go, I wanted to ask one more little thing is on. So if you were a Kiwi business right now, and you were thinking about, you were scared of, you didn't really understand cloud, you knew it was like this thing, you were kind of, a little bit fearful about change, but you've sort of managed to survive yourself through the last 2 years of this gong show. What would the first sort of key things you'd be doing in the next 4 to 6 weeks to try and revamp your headspace for potentially trying to embrace more of digital technology that can make the businesses better? Where would you go? What would you do?
I would start really small, because it can be quite intimidating. If we say you've got to revamp your business, otherwise you'll shrivel up. That's not what we say at all. We're saying just take one step at a time. So that one step, the one most powerful action you could take is just to go online and check out the resources of Digital Boost. Yep. And start to understand, what digital opportunities are out there to help you. It might just be, starting to get your business online with accounting for the first time, or if you've done that, what's the next step? It might be to build an e-commerce site. What's after that? It might be to look at a CRM. Now, there are also a lot of, beautiful community of accountants and bookkeepers around New Zealand that are also really quite skilled at helping their clients do that. So if you're lucky enough to have one of those accountants, I'd also start talking to them about, hey, how can I start to make my business more efficient, and like you say, start to work on, not in the business, and start to do the things that I enjoy doing with my business and not looking for receipts, every weekend, as an example. So I would just reach out and look for the people that can start to have the conversations with you. So your accountant, Digital Boost, look at the resources that are part of that program as well.
Yeah, having the execution for the technology within the business, they need to execute. They've got to be able to be educated about it, but then they need to be able to aware that it exists. Now they are aware. Anna, is digitalboost.co.nz, free resource. Get on there, check it out. Thank you so much. You're guest number 1. I'm very happy, super excited, full circle. Play the Simba music if you want, TT. Absolutely awesome. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the gardening up north, Anna, and I'll see you when I'm back for a nice, quiet weeno. It'll be great. Love your work. That is mega. Thanks so much. Anna Curzon, Chief Product Officer at Xero. Make sure you tune into Today FM on Rover, Robett Live on Spotify, wherever else you want to go. Coming up after the break, chatting with the next generation of Kiwis, the young bucks. This is what's up, the future of New Zealand business. Stepping it in after the break. See you all very, very shortly. Giddy up.
A new sound with 2 familiar voices.
Leah.
So you
Giddy up.
So what, we get drunk. So what, we don't sleep.
Oh,
We're just having fun.
Young, wild, and free. There we go. Straight after the break, we're straight into it. We're talking about young bucks. What is a young buck? If you're tuning in, you're asking. This is Today FM. We'll be at live, episode 302 on Today FM. You can text me through 3920 or call Today 0800 Today FM, I believe. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right, TT. We're crushing it. Young bucks. What is a young buck? A young buck is a youthful, exuberant young Kiwi doing good stuff in business. I call me young bucks, and we've got this section up called Young Bucks now, and we're talking to Alex Livingstone. How are you, mate?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. Let's start with this. How old are you, mate?
I'm 18 years old.
Let's go. Tell me about your business. Give me the 1-minute pitch. Go.
A 1-minute pitch, elevator pitch. All right. My business is called Bellrow Health. And what we do is we import berries. They're called barberries. Not many people know about them. We import them from Iran into New Zealand, and we sell it in a powdered form for teenagers to fight their acne.
There we go, mate. Okay, now let's rewind back. You're 18. I was 18 once. I had acne. Maybe, you and your friends do as well. What was the genesis for the idea, and what made you get to think of this as the product and the solution? I'm interested for the insights. Hit me.
Yeah, it goes back to like 2019, year 10 sort of time, where I started getting heaps and heaps of pimples. They were painful. It impacts your self-confidence. I call it the acne effect, and it eats away at your self-confidence. And so I was really looking for an effective, cheap, but also natural solution, because all of these other products, they come with side effects that can end up being just as bad, if not worse, than the acne itself. And so I was really looking for a natural solution. My dad, who's all over his health research type stuff, came across these berries, and there was a study done on them that showed that they can reduce acne by up to 43% in the first month of daily use. So of course we tried to jump onto that as quick as we could, and you couldn't actually buy them in the New Zealand market. So then when I started going into the Young Enterprise scheme through school, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to get these berries in that have worked so well on myself, and then create a first to market product for other teenagers like me.
It's very exciting. When I was younger, I had acne as well for a little bit, and I ended up taking some type of pills for it or something. But you're right about the self-confidence thing, because it gets. But
absolutely.
Mate, you're a young buck, mate. You want to be getting out there, just passion the babes. You got to be getting active, man. You're in the mix, dog. That's what you should be doing. And
you're on it.
Well, aren't you in Dunners? Isn't that you're all action down there, isn't it? Where are you at?
Yeah, something like that.
Danger. Hey, so let's talk about the commercial model for a second. You bring the stuff in, you've got you do this powdered solution. How is it? Is it B2B going? For those who don't know, it's like, is it direct business to business? Do you have a wholesale model? Do you go direct online, direct to consumer, D2C? Like what do you do and how do you do it? How do you make that money, Alex?
So we produce all of the product ourselves, which I think is quite a cool model, and it keeps it sort of grounded and within ourselves. So we produce the product at a local kitchen that we hire out. They're great, and then we sell the product online on our website, and then also to retail stores, wholesale as well. So we're in most of the Healthy Thousands and Bin-ins across the country, and then a few little local sort of health stores as well.
So just to be clear, you went and pitched you and your product to some big multi-chain national outlets. And you're like, hi, I'm Alex. I'm 18. Let me sell you shit. Like, how did that work? Did you actually pitch to?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah,
but,
go.
We were actually quite lucky to sort of get some media traction from the start. So we were on some bigger media like pages, and then those retail stores actually contacted us asking for the product to be in their store. So we kind of skipped over that phase in a sense, which I guess we'll have to pick back up on if we want to scale up even more. But yeah, we were lucky in that sense.
I love it. So now you've got a brand, you've got national distribution. What's the next game plan? You're going to bring in some VC money. You're going to like swim with some sharks. What are you going to get? Crowdfund some stuff. You're going to go like, how are you going to blow this puppy up? What does this look like in the next 3 years? Where's the headspace at for expansion of the company?
Just like push it as far as we can, and make it as convenient as possible for our consumers to consume these berries that have had such great effects on people's skin and confidence. So creating new products with the barberries is our main goal, and also making the service just easier. We're about to launch our new website, which is super interactive and has so many more resources around helping like an acne journey itself, not just our products. Yeah,
mate. I'll give you a quick free marketing tip there, Alex. The second you talk about a website, casually name drop in the website so people that are listening can actually just go to it and actually buy some of your stuff. So we'll try that again. Oh, that sounds awesome, bro. So like, where can they go to, or what can they do?
So my website, abelro.smystory.com, is where it's sold. But actually the new website isn't actually launched yet, which has a different name. Yeah.
All good. Hey,
but nothing will pop up if I plug that.
Hey, okay, no worries. Well, when it's ready to roll, after the new site's ready, reach back out. Let's do a little giveaway or something to some crew that want to maybe do it and show a bit of love. Congrats on the effort, the team, everything you've done. Super cool. Really appreciate it. And it's Abelro, ABALRO, not D, right? Abelro.
Yeah, that's correct.
My man. Hey, appreciate it, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time, and props being the first young buck on the show, mate. Well done.
Thanks so much. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Let's go. Time check. I've learned what these words are. I haven't done one of those yet. Tom, I'll quickly bring in there. Time check so far. It is 12:28 in New Zealand, 4:28 in San Francisco, 10:28 in Australia. But we're actually behind. So we're a day behind. So let me know how it goes. After the break, Business in a Minute, we'll give you some practical tips that you can integrate into your business within 60 seconds to make life easier. This is Today FM, Robett Live. Giddy up. See you after the break. 1 minute, man. This is the first thing I could Google when it came to 1 minute. This is business in a minute. This is Today FM, Robett Live. Text me through 3920 if you want to troll. Let me know how we're doing. This is our first time. I think we're doing well. I Googled some things. I've learned what stings mean, which means stuff other players. I've learned what time codes mean. I'm learning so much this week, team. Business in a minute. Okay, let's get into it. MED. What is your MED? The minimal effective dose. I've got a little quote here. It says, becoming more effective in less time is key to upping your productivity. Develop key procedures that can cut down time. And I'll give you one example. I use this every single day. Keyboard shortcuts. Let's say if there's an address of you want someone to know somewhere, instantly what you can do on your computer, if you go into settings, keyboard, shortcuts, what you can do is you can custom create a thing for, say, Addy. You create an address, you create a sales form, whatever you want to do. You can pre-script a bunch of text. You can then code it as something. You push the button and it's done. It saves me probably 30 to 40 minutes potentially a day with repetitive tasks. So when you think about your process, think about that. Business in a minute tip for the day is keyboard shortcuts. Pre-write scripts. You can click 2 little words and the whole thing will be done automatically for you. It is so amazing, so easy, and hardly anyone uses it, and they spend their time typing the same stuff out, the address, the location, the products or services, the options for whatever it can be. That is your business in a minute. And that's how you get more out of your business.
Robett Live.
on where you've got to. Congrats on the next phase. Thank you for spending some great time out of your little Saturday with peasants like us to help us understand all this money stuff that is important. And now we have access to these smart.
Short sting.
Share that knowledge along. So appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Pleasure, Robett. See you next week.
Robett Live
on Today FM.
Rolling and rocking. That was Paul Conway, 12:45 in Auckland, 4:45 in San Francisco. Definitely time for an orange juice or an apple juice that's in my cup to the right-hand side, and 10:45 in Sydney. If you've got any questions that you want to ask me for the future and stuff, you can text through 3920, and I can see it right here. So someone just talking about it before, saying really cool to see a young person tapping into the skincare market. Loads of products out there, but conditions like acne, anything natural that works better, prescription products is good with harsh effects and all the rest of it. So props to that. Anything you text me, I can read. When you text 3920, I can read it. I can see it here. And as long as it's not trolling me too much, I'll say it. Or TT, it's telling me he's doing a shit job, whatever it is, doesn't matter. After the break, we're going to be going learn, share, repeat. It's going to be game on. This is about learning. And kind of actually listen, everyone listens to, this is what it's about. Learn, share, repeat is about this. Everyone consumes content. And what I'm trying to do with these sections is figure out what type of content are you consuming right now that you're learning the most from, that you're getting the most insights from. We're going to find that after the break with Mike Mullins, one of my good bros, and see you on the other side. Giddy up.
Today FM, with some information to make you smarter.
The stone heads on Easter Island have bodies. The iconic statues protruding from the ground on Easter Island are familiar to most, but many don't realise what lies beneath the surface. In the 2010s, archaeologists studying the hundreds of stone statues on the Pacific Island excavated two of the figures, revealing full torsos, which measure as high as 33 feet. I'm Rachel Smalley with some information to make you smarter.
If you're still tuning in here, this is an ad break. You can't hear it on the main one, but this is what's happening. It's an ad break. Paying them bills. But behind the scenes here, I wouldn't say this is the straight live stream, because the actual proper thing is what's coming on the radio. I can't hear what's happening there, but you'll be able to see here. So this is kind of like, we are breaking the fourth wall a little bit. Daly was jumping in there. If you're wondering why that is, so I've set up a thing of like just on mute, if it's like this other thing we've got to do, or if it's ads, paying them bills. And then after the break, we're going to have Mike Mullins.
Now, with news that moves us forward, welcome to the new Today.
Cool, I have a song out here for you.
His goal, to destroy the tall poppy syndrome.
His platform, Today FM.
This is Robett Live.
Call 0800 Today FM.
Can you share? Can you share?
Can you share? Well, I've got a 3 and a 4-year-old, both daughters, and they're carnage, and you have to learn how to share. So what we're doing with this whole section is called Learn, Share, Repeat. All right, kill that track. It's killing me, TT. Oh, geez, it's horrible. But I wanted to start off with the point to put in there, because you probably can't see because you're listening on the radio on Today FM, but I wear a little wristband. On my wristband, it says Learn, Share, Repeat. And it's this little mantra I have to myself of thinking, when you have access to good, smart people, It is your obligation and duty to be able to get them in the mix and figure out what they know that you don't. And being constantly curious is something that I've always kind of prided myself on a little bit, because I failed high school. I didn't go to university. I don't know lots of things. So I ask lots of people that know the things. And one of the people that knows the things in the first section of Learn, Share, Repeat is good friend, Mr. Mike Mullins.
Robett, how are you?
Good, my friend. Welcome. You're the first one on. I miss your voice. I hope you're winning. Where are you? What's going on? And who the hell are you that made you sneak into the first episode of Learn, Share, Repeat?
Yeah, congrats on your debut show. It's so good to be on. Man, I haven't spoken to you in years. I'm back in the Garden City, back in the O3 Christchurch. Finally, after the borders have reopened, I'm back with my wee baby, catching up with family and friends. He's getting to meet all his cousins. It's so nice to be back in the city of which you and I grew up with. In terms of an introduction, I am Mike Mullins. I work in the New Zealand technology sector. My current role is I am Head of Growth and Partnerships for New Zealand technology company called Firmsy. We help lawyers go online, digitize and productize their IP to offer online legal solutions. So a very traditional industry that we're trying to disrupt somewhat.
You're shaking up, mate. You're not coming in with your three-piece suit blazers. You're going to legal. You're layering on some AI, and you're doing damage.
It's all online now. Everyone, we do all our meetings on Zoom. Everyone wears T-shirts. Contrast that with 2 years ago, where I was putting on my three-piece suit to go up skyscrapers in Perth, Sydney to present to lawyers in the boardroom. COVID has changed everything. It's forced innovation. It's really pushed a whole industry online.
So let's jump into it, mate. What are you learning the most right now? What rabbit holes of content? Where are you getting inspiration from? What is the thread of media that you are consuming, which is giving you greater insights than most Kiwis that they potentially will be wanting to hear or learn?
One thing I'm loving at the moment, and especially these days, everyone's really time poor. So I subscribe to a newsletter called The Hustle. I think there's 1.5 million global subscribers. They send out a daily email with the top 5 tech headlines around the world. It's absolutely brilliant. So last Tuesday, I think they did a whole feature on the metaverse and, the digital property boom that's happening in the metaverse. They just had, the whole thing with The Hustle, it takes 2 minutes to read. So you can consume the tech news within 2 minutes. So that's probably my go-to. I'd highly recommend people subscribe to the Hustle if they want to stay on top of what's happening in the tech game.
Just thehustle.com. What's the website?
The Hustle. Chuck it into Google. It'll pop up. Daily tech newsletter. It's absolutely brilliant.
Okay, so that's what you're getting for your tech stuff. What podcasts are you listening to? Where are you sort of consuming audio? Like, what's your sort of listening habits when it comes to learning? Like, how are you learning right now?
It's really interesting, isn't it? There's obviously long form. So love my podcast. There's a really good one called The Detail by RNZ. Keep on top of the news, just what's happening locally, and then internationally. There's some pretty crazy, heavy shit happening around the world at the moment. So I really enjoy that one. Then ABC Radio in Australia is really good. They do a really snackable Spotify update each day. It's only three minutes, and it just has the top 5 headlines from around the world. So that's where I get my news. And I'm actually listening to a crazy one at the moment on ABC called Inside the Big Day Out, because I really like events and that whole events business world, and it's detailing the rise and fall of the Big Day Out Music Festival. At one time, it was the largest touring music festival in the world. So I'm really enjoying that.
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
It's especially with events when there are moments. I've been kind of getting to a little bit as well of digging into kind of the story behind the story. It's like behind the scenes of business is one of the kind of angles that I've been really, really interested in. Or especially when you had experiences younger, and then you go later back to see what actually happened, and it's wild, dude. It's absolutely wild. I love it.
So wild. This podcast is absolutely crazy, especially when they get to the part about touring Kanye and just the money they were blowing on. I think in his rider he had to have presidential hotel suites, and he wouldn't even use half of them. But the thing about those suites, you still have to pay them.
Yeah.
And that was when the penny flipped and they really started to decline. And obviously, it was an amazing story. I highly recommend Inside the Big Day Out.
There you go. All right, in the first episode, Learn, Share, Repeat, mate. I hope the whānau is good. Appreciate you jumping on episode 1. Always appreciate insights. So you got the hustle, you got the other thing going on. You can Google it away. Absolute legend, bro. Appreciate you jumping in.
Hey, thanks for having me, and all the best for the next episode. Cheers, mate.
Giddy up. All right. So after the break, we're going to be quick little vent. I've got a question for you. I've got an answer, but depending on how we get time, the question there is this, and I'd like to know your answer. What is the most frustrating system or process that you've ever seen that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever? What is horrible that sucks, which shouldn't? That just doesn't make sense. I've got one. I need a quick vent, and I'll be seeing you after the break. You can call now 0800 Today FM. Join me on the show. Ask Robett is next. Rolling, we back. We're rolling. Okay, get rid of there. Okay, almost at the top of the hour. Time now, 12:57 New Zealand, 4:57 in San Francisco, and we are dreaming. Okay, need a quick vent. Got to get this out. What is the biggest system or process? Actually, before that, I got told, Titi told me to do something. I got to read a couple of texts. First one, hey Robett, loving the vibe. Such a great fall to Dom's show. Love both together. Wow, fab, so awesome. Keep up the pace. Awesome, Louise. Thank you, Louise. See one killing Robett from comments like Pashing Babes and Dunners. You'll care for your guests and listeners, your disclaimers and your questions that cut through to the issues I'm interested in. I'll definitely keep listening. You do you, boo. Ooh, thank you. It's what I need on the airwaves right now. Bex, let's go. Appreciate it, Bex. Solid. Now, as much love as you gave me on that, I just want to vent for a quick second. And I'm interested, you can text it through thing with like what absolutely sucks. Let me tell you a process which sucks. And one of the things that I always get very inquisitive about in life is when I see systems and processes and I try to figure out what's broken. Okay, last Thursday, go to put out the rubbish bins, go to put them out on the side. Next morning, come back, they're not being taken. I'm like, yo, what's up? We go away, we go down to Pebble Beach for the weekend. I go play golf at Poppy Hills. It was incredible. Shot an 89, cheated on you a little bit, lost 9 balls. Don't worry about that. And the frustrating thing, we get back and the bins aren't there. So I ring up the rubbish truck crew and I said, hey team, a quick one, didn't get picked up. And he's like, oh yeah, we've got a note on the account. I was like, okay, what's the note? He's like, oh, you didn't pull them close enough to the front, so they had to, they couldn't pull to the side. He wasn't going to get out. And we're trying to save money right now, so we tell our drivers not to get out of the vehicle. I said, okay, well, now I've got full trash bags. What's the solution here? They said, oh, well, I'll just put a note on the account and you can put out 5 extra rubbish bags next week and then it'll be fine. I said, okay, well, who then picks up the rubbish bags? They said, oh, well, the driver will. I said, okay, so last week, because he didn't pull it forward by 3 feet, he notes in the system, you noted it, and then I have to come through and do that. Yes. And you, now this week, he has to come out and pull all the bags which he didn't get. Yes. So frustrating. Things are broken, team. They can send rockets to Mars. They can't flip and get a rubbish bin, and now he has to manually do it. It's a gong show. All right, after the break, big hour coming up ahead, talking to digital creatives, Nikora Naropo. We're talking Te Reo, Uncle Bruce is on, and much more. This is Today FM. We're being live. Giddy up.
Cool.
Well, road issues.
So people can hear us now, can they?
People can hear us now.
Good to know.
You're live. You're
On
streaming.
the agriculture sector, it says its carbon footprint is leading to extreme climate events. Lead agriculture campaigner Christine Rowe says it cannot be ignored.
We've just launched a petition calling on the government to have the herd through controls on synthetic nitrogen fertiliser and imported feed that are driving the bloated New Zealand dairy herd.
Police have confirmed one person has died at the scene following a two-vehicle crash in Matamata. Police were notified of the incident just before 8 this morning on State Highway 27 in Tatuanui. Another person is in a serious condition and has been taken to hospital. Police are hunting for a specific group of people after a woman died in Gisborne. A homicide investigation has launched following the 36-year-old's death on Te Toki Street overnight. Officers are yet to track down those involved. 3 days of negotiations between allied health workers and district health boards have found no resolution. 10,000 scientific and technical staff are planning to go on strike unless better pay is offered. Public Service Association organiser Will Matthews says they can barely afford to support themselves.
No health worker actually wants to go on strike, but we are really feeling like we've been backed into a corner here, and taking strike action is our last option to get the government to listen.
The guest list for get-togethers can now be a whole lot larger. Outdoor gatherings no longer have a cap on numbers, and scanning QR codes is a thing of the past. But immunologist Anna Brooks says it's troubling for the more vulnerable who are feeling abandoned and defeated when taking part in society. The latest COVID-19 figures are due to be released about now. Okay.
His goal, to destroy the tall poppy syndrome.
His platform, Today FM.
This is Robett Live.
Call 0800 Today FM.
Oh, I just love the fact that I can just put any track on here. Okay, for the next one, we're going to be doing this. Text through 3920, and the best one that comes up, we will play in the next thing. I put that one up there. It was like, Who Let the Dogs Out? That's a remix, obviously. I appreciate it. All right, slow tune me out there, TT. We got to get I appreciate the backdrop, but geez. Okay, text 3920, the best song that comes through that we think is just going to be a straight banger to start slapping on Today FM today at 1 o'clock as we head over the 1:03 p.m. now, 5:03 in San Francisco, is we will play on the next thing. So text through right now. What track or banger should we play? Now, special guest. Round two. Actually, before we just want to jump into there, we'll get into my bro. I'm very tech native. I like technology. I live and breathe technology. And so what I've been doing as a self thing is I've been tracking my heart rate from 15 minutes before we started to now. My heart rate before we started was 115, which means I was very nervous and very excited. I then got to 113. 15 minutes later, 105, 15 minutes later, 99, and now I'm at 86. So my heart rate has come down from 113 to 86, which means two things. One, I'm feeling more comfortable in your presence. So I really appreciate your time and your attention for being here and listening on the Mellow Little Saturday. And two, I was nervous because I cared and my heart rate was going off. But before we get into anything else, that's it for the first hour done, into hour two. And I've got a good friend of mine who's a creative weapon and a bit of a cultural force for New Zealand and commerce and creativity. It is Nikora Naropo. How are you, my bro?
Hey, I'm good, brother. How's it going over there?
Awesome, man.
Heart rate's up. Wow.
That was, I know, dude. That was like you were doing burpees on your 40th, dude. That's like up there. 115 is heavy.
Oh, geez, don't bring back bad memories, bro.
Hey, I want to jump into this. For those who aren't aware, you're on Toro Studios. You amazing sort of creative. Give people a quick, a 1 minute insight to your world, where you sit and play. And I'm interested to get into this intersection of creativity, technology, and also layered with culture and a big asset that we have. So, who the hell are you, mate? And why are you on Today FM?
Kia ora, everyone. I'm Nico Ringaropo, one of the directors for Toro Studios. Toro is a multi-pronged kind of weapon, if you like. We have a development arm, a studio production that does commercial work, and then we also have an academy. We've also just put together our foundation as well. So what does that mean? It means that we touch a lot of spaces within tech, but we also have a real social conscience around providing education, building capability and capacity. You know, a lot of people talk about it, about a few internships here, you know, having people come in for jobs and that kind of stuff. We built a whole academy because we know that there's a massive hole in the market here in Aotearoa, and seeing our people come through. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We do commercial animation work, production work. Obviously, we're doing stuff on the dev and platform space as well, and we just finished our first cohort for our academy yesterday. So it's been pretty busy.
You got heaps on, me. I love it. But one of the things I was maybe keen to jump into for a little bit is the rise of, I guess, culture as the asset, not a liability. And for many years, I've felt that, you know, I'm only 36 years old now, but when I see the ecosystem with how, in many ways, culture has been dismissed in many sections, what's become really relevant and quite proud to see, I guess, over the last couple of years is how the perceived liability of some, which was culture, has now flipped into such a strong asset to the world, right? And when you layer on technology or creativity, how do you see the world with the opportunity that New Zealand actually has by leveraging culture in a way that can be, I guess, culturally, community, and commercially viable and upside for such an awesome country?
Well, look, I'll start off by giving it a bit of context. So if we look at, say, Netflix, for an example, we now have programming around Orthodox Jews. We have programming coming in from India, from Turkey. We've got Hispanic programming, and you can see the language and change. From that example there, we can see that there is a curiosity about how people live, about different cultures, and where those cultures sort of fit in the world. So if we look at that and we translated that across to Aotearoa, New Zealand, people are interested in our culture here and what that means for us. As a Māori male, I take my culture wherever I go. That doesn't mean that it's a liability. What it means for me is that it creates a unique space for me to stand out from other people. When we were in San Fran 2019, prime example, we had a huge contingent of people that were from all over the world, you know, right across Asia, all the way from sort of Russia, Uzbekistan, India, the States. But one thing I found really interesting was a lot of those people left their culture at the door. They all fluent speakers in their own native languages, but when they came into this environment, none of them used it. Mm-hmm. That wasn't me. What I did was I introduced myself in Māori and I translated as I went through so people could follow what was being said. But the reason why I say that is it set me apart from other people, and it also showed, because, you know, if you saw me walking down the street, I could be anything. I could be a mix of Italian, you know, European, which I am as well. I'm also Māori, I'm Danish, I'm Scottish, I'm Irish, and Italian in there. So, you know, that's having that cultural background gave me a real point of difference. In terms of our storytelling, it just provides a whole different landscape for us to engage with people with that storytelling aspect and how our stories fit into that larger ecosystem of stories all around the world.
It's strong, dude. Now, when you come to think of, say, New Zealand this next, I guess, 12 to 24 months, you're in the digital space, you're in the content space. How do you see the media landscape potentially shifting or morphing when it comes to the creative-led sort of like projects and stuff? Like, what are you seeing at a macro level around where money's shifting? What's sort of bubbling away on the content? Like, what levers do you think will be pulled in the next sort of 12 to 24 months in the content game?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing it right now. Obviously, when sort of COVID hit, people started picking up their devices and watching a ton of content, right? What that means is that it's actually led to massive holes in the market. So people have burned through content. They are looking for new, fresh content. So there's opportunity there. For us here in Aotearoa, we now have a space where we've got a voice. So with projects for all of the large streamers, you've got Netflix now, Disney, Neon, Apple TV, Prime, Amazon Prime. You've got all of these really large players that are investing billions of dollars into content. So there is massive opportunity for us to have a voice, tell our stories, create content, and just do some good shit, bro.
It's pretty exciting times, especially if you look at I agree with you in the content consumption mode. One of the things I've been thinking about recently when it comes to, I guess, you're naming all these different platforms, is the same way you look at traditional TV with how there was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you get cable and all of a sudden you've got 100 different channels. I feel we run the risk in digital now where all of a sudden you need this app for this show, this app for this show. And weirdly enough, what was, I guess, channels have now the channel issue where you've got hundreds of channels under the one platform. You've now got a platform issue where you need to have the Netflix and the Hulu and the this and the that. Like, how do you see the battle of the platforms playing out? Or do you think we're going to get to a different business model where we can pay what we consume regardless what platform? Because at the moment it's starting to add up, and people, every $1 or $2 here, when you add up, 7 different streaming services on a monthly basis, next minute you're spending a lot more than you had expected. How do you predict the platform game playing out in the next 2 to 3 years?
Like you're absolutely right, man. You've hit the nail on the head. Everybody wants a piece of that action, and of course there are niches, right? But if you're talking about the large platforms, they've already got a large subscriber base as well. And if we're talking about, say, Netflix, I think 2019 they put out around 10 to 12 billion to create content. Disney, they put out about 2 billion. Really big numbers, right? So those smaller players, for me, I'd say they're probably either going to have to amalgamate and find points of difference, niche markets where they can target an audience, where they don't just kind of get rolled by some of these larger scale platforms. Money talks, and platforms like Disney, they've got legacy, right? So they've got all of this programming that they've acquired over a very long period of time. With these new streaming services, they're on the hunt for new stuff. So for me, I think there's a lot of opportunity in niche markets. But it just depends on how big those markets are.
Well, even look at the sporting rights of how it's starting to play out with, Amazon now in the States buying the NFLs for Thursdays, and there's this big race of sport, and, live sport always becomes that sort of holy grail for things. I'm just, I think when it comes at the end of the day, storytelling goes undefeated, and brand the story and that whole thing, it definitely means something. So even more so when it comes to cultural storytelling for different indigenous pockets around the spot, it's pretty mega and awesome to see. So if people want to, support the foundation, see what you're doing with Toro and bits and pieces, where can they go to and what can they do?
Okay, you can head to torostudios.nz online. Come and check it out. Like I said, we just had the graduation of our first cohort of students, and the reason we set that up was we could see a massive hole here in New Zealand around getting talent. So right now there was a huge amount of opportunity. Borders are still closed, but there's actually not enough people to make the work. Not enough. Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out, come through here, send a message out through Toro Studio, through the contact list, and just get in touch. Some great opportunities out there, bro.
My man, hey, congrats on all the success from what you've done with Weta, with Toro, all the rest of it. It's making a big difference in the media and content space, and it's awesome to see, such good education for that next generation of young bucks getting clued up with media, content, and how it all works. So appreciate your time on this beautiful Saturday. That was my bro, Nikura Naropo, crushing it from Toro Studios. And on the segue of that, I wanted to talk with some before we go to the quick break for a second, is part of the gig when you do things is people have opinions. And one of the things I've always been more than happy to have is tough conversations with people who kind of need to get told that maybe they should stop being such muppets. So the first one of that is we've got our first muppet of the day, little troll trying to jump on in. And the comment says, "Hi, is this a South Auckland bro and bra show?" No, it's actually Robett Live. And if you did a bit of context and Googling, more than happy to have any chat. And actually, to piss you off even more so, right after the break, we're going to be talking about te reo and a little bit of Māori language stuff, which I've been learning because I've traveled the world and I feel kind of bad that I can actually speak more Japanese at the moment than I can my own language of te reo Māori. My whānau is from Ngāti Porou, from East Coast Gisborne, proud Māori. And to you, old mate, if you want to keep tuning in, feel free to do so. So happy. Really, we got our first troll come through. That's because I was talking about culture. So feel free to joggo, mate. Or actually, because you're a hater, you're actually going to tune in more. So we'd actually like to thank you. The sponsors that are about to play in the break, we'd like to thank you for listening and tuning in for that. This is Te FM on... you can get it on Rover, Spotify, whatever. 1:15. See you after the break. Giddy up.
The sports you love.
The way you talk to your mates about it.
Mark Peard Sports.
All right, mate. It's a short break.
Oh, there we go. Poya, one of the Michael Jackson bangers. I love that we got a cultural troll that hit us just before the break, before we're about to go into a section called Te Reo Time. So it's so good. I hope you're still listening. I bet you are. And I want to talk about this for a quick second. For starters, that video clip, if you haven't seen it, it's got one of the best Michael Jackson breakdancers of all time. And it was the #1 hit years in the day. So for those who may not be aware, I'm part Māori. My dad was Māori, mum's Pākehā. Whānau's from Ngāti Porou, East Coast Gisborne. And I was fortunate enough, family, my soul sort of lives there. Grew up on a farm in Dargaville and over in Fiji, and then Aranui, Christchurch, and then Wanaka, Auckland, all sorts of bits and pieces. But when I was, 11, I was over in Korea traveling. When I was in Japan traveling and living, and then I, traveled the world. And I got to, in my previous life as a professional snowboarder, I got to live in, France and Canada and Japan and all sorts of places. It was great. I had a great time, good times with my friends. But over the last couple of years, I've started to feel a bit, not shame. Shame's probably not the right word, but I've been feeling a little, not a little incomplete when it comes to the culture side of things, because I've been thinking about, for me anyway, is it kind of bad that I can speak more Japanese than I can Māori? I think so. Is that really going to keep it on? And so I've been kind of battling this for a little bit. So anyway, earlier this year, at the start of the year, or just actually before the end of last year, I reached out to Sarah Reo and connected with her, and she's got a brand new business called Culture Flow. So I've been doing these one-on-one virtual little te reo classes, which have been pretty cool. And I've realized that for so long, people that have thought of the liability as actually an asset, and it's a journey. I'm starting, like, I'm pretty like amateur with this thing, and I'm learning around it. But anyway, for each week we're going to be having like a Māori teacher actually be able to come on and just teach us like word of the week, little phrase, little something as well to keep it going on. And so for this week to be kicking off with is going to be I don't know if you know, and this is like I'm learning too. So if you want to, learn along, like that's great. And what we're going to talk is the days of the week. Now, the days of the week are pretty simple. It is Monday, mane, Tuesday, tude, Wednesday, wenere, Thursday, taite, Friday, paraire, Saturday, hatere, and Sunday, ratapu. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, mane, tude, wenere, taite, paraire, hatere, ratapu. And I've just got this printed out, but I've been like just randomly just trying to like think about when I'm dropping them. So I'm starting to see it and think it, because for me anyway, it's become pretty sort of important, I think, for me anyway, just to try and do it. So that's also, today is Saturday. So you'll be training on Saturdays, and that's hatere. That's it. So that is your little today thing. I hope my my little trolling friend is still there. There you go. Today, you troll. It's called hatere. That is it. And that is the Te Reo time for this week. If you've got any feedback or suggestions, you can text me through 3920. And actually, I've got some feedback before you throw to the sting, which is that little zing zing thing, which I've just learned about. TT, we've got the first track that have come in. We've got Play Whiskey at Pills by Billy Idol. And that's the main one through. So I'll let you try and track that down after the next Tall Poppy profile. We can get into it. But basically, text me through 3920 Robett Live on Today FM.
Robett Live.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building,
everybody's hands go up. Perfect. All right. All we do is win. Why did I pick this track? I picked this track for a simple reason. I like seeing Kiwis win. I think New Zealand wins when New Zealanders win. And what I decided to do with this section of the show is each week reach out to a New Zealand business doing great and cool stuff. TT, you can kill the music. Kill it down. We don't need to hear Luda. What we need to hear from is Tanya Beckwith. How are you, Tanya? Kia ora.
Kia ora, Robett.
How are you today on this fine Saturday? Where are you? What are you doing? And how is your day bubbling away?
Oh, wow. I'm in Christchurch, and I've just spent the morning actually up on the Port Hills for a big walk around the hills with my dog, actually.
There you go.
It's been great. It's beautiful yesterday. Yeah. So great way to spend a Saturday.
I love it. When you stand up there, you look out to the east side of town, you see a little suburb right next to the shit ponds, and that is called Aranui, and that is my old home. So I appreciate you get to see the old fam, the old whānau rolling around there. So it's good that you're rolling in from Christchurch. Tanya, I wanted to open up and sort of profile part of this thing that I'm really sort of passionate about is showcasing Kiwis doing good things. You are a Kiwi. You are doing good things. You're from a business called Adopt a Student Charitable Trust. Tell me about the trust, and I'm really interested with what you do that's helping more Kiwis, because I think it's a pretty awesome thing. So I wanted to plug you on here. So go for it. Who are you and what do you do?
Cool. What is Adopt a Student? Well, we are a organisation that supports the well-being of tertiary students in New Zealand, and it's really about positively impacting their mental and physical and emotional well-being, and we do that by connecting students, particularly students who are living away from home, with families in the local community where they've chosen to study. So they get to do cool family stuff, and we also do a bit of sort of professional mentorship, that sort of thing as well, but it's mostly around good old Kiwi family values and fun family activities, right? Yeah.
How did it?
Nothing just doing when they're at home.
Yeah. How did it start? What was the genesis of this, and how has it rolled so far? Like, tell me through the journey of day one to here. What's the why?
Okay. So the why is actually a bit from tragedy, actually. So I lost my daughter to suicide almost 4 years ago. She was a first-year student at Victoria University in Wellington, and she was living away from home. And she is a statistic, I guess, of our mental health crisis in New Zealand, and particularly amongst our young people. And through the journey of that grief journey, I guess, we came to, I guess, a bit of a conclusion of how many of our young students actually are in a very vulnerable situation from being away from home and having all those extra pressures of tertiary life and missing home, and then they've got the financial stuff and everything else. So that's kind of where it started. I put a post out on social media about it was actually July in last year, and said, hey, I think we need to stand up and make a change ourselves. I think if we're going to wait on the government to make a change, we'll still be sitting here in 10 years' time. So but we needed to get our village back together and support each other as a community through some of this isolation and anxiety that not just our students are feeling, but actually a lot of people in our community. So this is just a win-win, not just for students, but for everyone, really, because everyone gets to connect and actually get a bit of energy from other people and doing stuff with other people in life. That's pretty much what it's about, and that's how it started.
Yeah, it's a sad way to start it, but it's good that you went on. I guess you went on the offense instead of being, reactionary on defense, waiting to see who would do something for you with not necessarily like a handout mentality, but like a waiting mentality to see if someone else can fix it. I mean, props and kudos to you, Tanya, for stepping up and going, you know what, we can do something, we will do something and go. And one of the things that, kudos to you for it as well, is the fact of when you have it's very easy to sit back and blame people. It's like, stuff these guys do that. It's very hard to, put the bootstraps up and actually go to create something which you feel can add value to the world. So props on you for being able to do that. And so when you think now about with what you've built, like, how do you see this journey going? Like, how do you expand? How can you help more crew? What's your sort of pathway mentally with where you think you can take the Adopt a Student Charitable Trust in the next little while?
Yeah, so look, we have spent the last 6 months, I guess, putting the organisation together from scratch, which has been a huge job, particularly when you're dealing with such a vulnerable segment of society. There's lots of safety things and induction and that sort of stuff that we had to put in place. So we've done all of that, and we've created a huge connection with. We've got whānau all over the country sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to adopt students, and we've got a huge volunteer network that has been helping put the organisation together and to reach out to other parts of the country. But if anyone wants to help us now, it's about getting the message to the students and saying, hey, we're here and we are here to support you and do whatever it is that you need that is going to help make your journey through your tertiary years easier. So that's one thing that we are really trying to push at the moment, and I'm working with different organisations, tertiary organisations, actually student-led mental health organisations within Canterbury University, and reaching out to some of the universities across the country just to try and get that message to students and let them know that we're here. So this year we are working on doing a pilot in Christchurch, although we have got students across the country as well that have reached out separately that we've connected with local families. And next year we're going to take the program across Aotearoa, which is really exciting. So that's just awesome. Looking at putting little teams of volunteers on the ground across different cities in the country to get that infrastructure together and to get the message out there to students everywhere. Yeah, and that's when I say student, that's trades. It's not necessarily university students. It's anyone who's actually away from home and wants to connect and be involved in a local family and get to do some cool family stuff and just have another layer of support there for them if they need it.
That's awesome. Good on you, Tanya. If people want to check out your website, where can they go to? What can they do if you want to back in and support what you're up to, having more support for these young bucks? Where can they go?
Yeah, so we've got a website which is www.adoptastudent.org.nz. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So, or Google Adopt a Student. Google my name, Tanya Beckwith. It will be easy to find me. So look us an email.
That's awesome. There you go. Rain was just texting in, I'm a university student and would love to assist with bringing it to my uni. Is there any way we can help with this? 100%. There you go, Rain. It's right there for you.
Absolutely.
You've got it. Hey, really appreciate your time, Tanya. Thanks so much for joining. Well done on all you've created so far, and the best luck for the journey in the future. That was Tanya Beckwith. So no worries, with Adopt a Student Charitable Trust, making a positive impact on the wellbeing of tertiary students in New Zealand. Good on her. Props. Time now is 1:29 in Auckland, 5:29 in San Francisco. Today FM on Rover, Robett Live. And coming up next, one, two questions, call through. See you after the break. Can't do a show, Ben, from, I don't know, Christchurch without finding some Scribe. Hope that is going good. 1:31 in Auckland, 5:32 in, or 1:32 in Auckland, 5:32 in San Francisco. And if you're in Sydney, it's 11:32. So I am not an influencer. And what I do is I pay full retail for everything and I test things. And so I do these little Robett's reviews. And I've reviewed, I don't know if you're into technology. If you are not into technology, feel free to skip forward. You actually can't because it's live radio, but, you know, jog on with me, you'll be fine. What I recently had a question in my head was, what is better, the Apple AirPods Pro or the new Bose QC noise buds? And both of them are very technically great, but for me, music is massive, and I always am listening to music pretty much the entire time. I've always got an earbud in my ear. I'm always constantly doing it, and so I'll kind of cut to the chase with one super simple. So if you wanted to know what the answer is not Apple. The answer is Bose. The Bose QC noise buds are better than the Apple AirPods Pro. I'm not an influencer. This is not paid for. No one can pay me to say anything if a product sucks because I paid full retail because I don't need their money. What I want you to know is that the quality literally of the Bose QCs is better than Apple. And it hurts my heart to say because for so many years, I've been an Apple fanboy. For so many years, I've bought every single basically Apple product that exists of all time, but the Bose are better. Sorry, the Bose are better. So if you're looking for Apple AirPods, I've got the AirPods Pro and got the Bose. Buy the Bose. That's my review. Unsponsored, not paid, non-influencer, paid full retail. That is what you should buy. Not Apple. Buy the Bose. Time to bring in my boss. Oh, hey, TT. How you doing, mate?
Good, Robett. I wouldn't say I'm your boss.
Yeah.
I think this is a collaboration.
Well, technically, when you just jump in and say, hey, Robett, you got to piss off. Hey, Robett, do this. It's quite like you're the boss. It's fine. I'll be small spoon. It's cool.
Okay. All right. Boss behind the scenes.
This is episode 302 for me, but this is episode 1 for us. How do you feel? How do you feel the first day? Obviously, this has been you've got lots on your plate. There's lots going on. There's lots of there's lots of stuff happening in this world. How are you doing? How are we doing? And for episode 1 in Today FM.
Well, look, we're still on air, and that was my expectation. That was my standard for today. Was if we could get to 2:00 New Zealand time and not have taken the station off air, that's a success. It looks like we're going to do that. Knock on wood. We're not quite there yet, but no, it's been really, really, really cool to have both you and Dom on this morning. I'm looking after Dom's show as well, and for some radio noobs, especially. We've smashed it, mate. Some great guests, great analysis. It's been really, really good.
And if we've also been testing out a bunch online too, because we're doing a live video stream going across, LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and we're doing lots of technical stuff in there, which is cool too. So from a technical perspective, well done to all the team that's helped do it with Brad and Jim and Chris and Dal and everyone in the mix as well. What I was actually about to ask into here is, it's awesome when people feel they can have a voice and be able to ring up. So what we're actually going to do for a second, I'll bring you back in a sec too, is I want to have my first caller. I've never had a caller before because I've never been on radio before. I've never done anything. I'm a radio virgin team, and I'd like a friend to ring up and say 0800 Today FM and say what's up, where you're at, what's bubbling away, how's your day going, and say something awesome and a quick bit of advice. 0800 Today FM, first one through, as long as you're not saying that me and TT suck, you're going to come on air with us. 0800 Today FM. I don't know what the numbers mean for that because I don't have my phone in front of me. But if you've got a 0800 Today FM on your dialer, you can ring through and you can join on thing, and you can potentially ask me anything. You can have a quick little ask Robett anything you'd like. 0800 Today FM, or be able to text through as well. Had a good show so far. It's 1:36 Auckland time, 5:36 San Fran time. After the break, we're going to be having a quick little business in a minute, and then linking up with Uncle Bruce. Now, you may wonder who Uncle Bruce is. Well, mate, I could tell you. Uncle Bruce is like, how do I describe Uncle Bruce? Uncle Bruce is going to be your best friend. When you listen to this show every Saturday from 12 to 2, you're going to be tuning. Yeah, that's why we actually put him we're saving the best to last. Bruce is a friend of mine, good friend. He's a CEO, but he's also been married for 30 years. 30 years. It's unreal. 30 years. So he's got lots of life advice. He's like a bit of a Mr. Miyagi for me. He's deceptively deep on the emotional side, understands the spiritual world, but also is a financial beast and a solid leader and a great Kiwi and a good human. So he's going to be popping up after the break. If you want to be able to jump in and have, if you want to break my radio virginity of my first caller, please call through. And they'll be all good. After the break, we're going to begin into business in a minute. Uncle Bruce, this is Robett Live. This is Today FM. Giddy up, game on. See you on the other side.
Today
And special guests
Tomorrow morning from 9.
on Today FM.
Is an amplifying when we come in with this swing. Just following the pattern naturally.
Rock and roll Robett live Today FM. We are back in the mix. Team, we've got our first caller. I've got my first friend. It's Paul. Paul, how are you?
Really good.
Oh, you're on. Go
I
for
like
it.
the concept of Today FM because it seems to have a bit of intelligence behind it.
Oh.
And I really like listening to the rock music on the rock, but I just often want a little bit more depth and conversation.
Let's go, Paul.
Yeah.
You don't sound like
Yeah.
you're 20. Give me your demographic so the team know what's popping here. Like where are you coming from? What's your deal? What's your angle?
I've got a very young attitude because I run club physicals, so I have lots and lots of young members, but I'm 68.
Let's go. Hey, well, I appreciate that a 60 or 8-year-old has turned into a 36-year-old to see what I potentially have to say, and some of my friends and my crew and all of it. So it's very cool. And so you're liking the vibe change. You're down with it, Paul. You're down.
Yeah, I like hearing. I've heard a few interviews that you've done already while I've been driving my car, and it just gets your brain ticking over, and you learn about different things, which is I really like listening to rock music, but you're not really learning much.
No,
so it's a good change.
Good on you, man. That's great feedback. I really appreciate it, especially from a different demographic. I have lots of friends that are your age as well, because I think there's a lot you can learn from your elders. But I appreciate your insights. And hey, great first call, Paul. Thanks so much for jumping on. We've got another text come through. Fantastic show, Bet. Can't believe it's your first time. You are a pro. I'll be listening weekly for sure. Cheers, Liz. Cheer. Loving the show, Bet. Listen in Coromandel on Rover. Oh, on the Mandel. Let's go, man. Hey, great feedback, team. We're down with 68-year-olds. Look. If I can teach a 68 about what Shook One's instrumental part 2 is about, then like my life is complete. So I really appreciate that. We're going now. It's time for business in a minute.
I don't want no minute man.
There you go, Paul. Don't need to worry about any of that rock stuff. We're rolling with a bit of a different taste with some Missy. Business in a minute. Super simple for your business. Become a problem solver. You need to tell people and let them know how you are the solution for their problem, and make it about them, not you. You'll be surprised at how many times people position their stuff to make it about them. It's not about them. It's about you. Well, when you're the customer, if you're saying that, it's about the customer, not about you. I'll tell you a quick little story. I once went to a business sort of incubator little thing, and all these employees tried to figure out problems that would make their lives better, but not a single person asked the customer. Position every type of marketing or brand or anything in their eyes. They have the problem, not you. It's not about you, stuff you, it's about the customer. Need to think about how does your product service fix their problem and make their life better. Position it for them, not for you. That's it. There you go. Get up. After the break, we have Uncle Bruce. We got Uncle Bruce coming up next. I'm super excited. Time now is 1:43 Kiwi time, 5:43 San Francisco, 11:43 if you're in Sydney. And we'll be seeing you on the other side.
We've all had the heated discussion over a glass
But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500.
500 miles. There we go. Robett Live Today FM. Why do we start with that? It's because when you've walked 500 miles in a relationship, whatever, it means you've gone for a long time. And someone else who's gone for an absolutely long time, who's a flipping champion, we need to start with, is Bruce Pilber. Married for 30 years, good friend and CEO weapon at the Spirit of Adventure. How are you, my brother?
Hey, Robett, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Well, firstly, I'd like to apologize. I've made my first stuff up ever. I was supposed to bring in the last one, and then I just jumped the gun, and we went to an ad break. TT was like, Robett, you stuffed it. I was like, all right, well, that's one strike, Robett. So I appreciate your listening through 2 ad breaks now. Bruce, I'm sorry, my friend.
No worries, mate. No worries. And look, let's just get it right. It's 33 years this year, so I'd like to count the numbers. Yeah. So to the amazing Amanda, yeah. So yeah, it all works. It's great.
There you go. I'm super excited for you. I don't know if you'd like the term that we've called Uncle Bruce, but I always figure I can learn always a lot every time I talk to you from my friends. So those that are unaware of like who you are and what you're about, give a quick little 1-minute spiel on. We're obviously CEO of Spirit of Adventure, come from a bunch of stuff, but tell us a little bit more about it, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, I mean, Uncle Bruce. I mean, yeah, I'm not so sure, mate. It kind of sounds like a guy that turns up at Christmas and I want to talk to. But yes, you're right. I'm CEO of Spirit of Adventure. I've been doing that for about 18 months now, and it's been awesome. I've sort of spent time, as you know, mate, in and out of corporate. But my heart always comes back to sort of a mission that involves changing people's lives, and I have a real passion for youth in New Zealand. I feel like they're doing it hard. They have been doing it hard for a while. So anywhere where I can be a positive influence in that space, just to shift the dial for young people in New Zealand, then that's sort of my desire to get involved. So transformation is probably my background, marketing, going into businesses and transforming them. So and to keep up with the youth culture in New Zealand, you've got to pivot all the time, right? You've got to keep changing. And so to me, it feels like a perfect fit. Involves the ocean, involves the environment, involves youth transformation, and it involves the ability to change and move with culture. So I'm in my happy place, to be fair.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. You've obviously had a pretty epic corporate career, but transition to something with a whole bunch of depth that goes straight to the heart. It's pretty cool. So for those that aren't aware of what Spirit of Adventure does, do you want to give a quick thing on that too, which is amazing?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so go and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, the mahi there. Yeah, it's pretty amazing actually. It's been around 50 years next year, so it's almost as old as me, and we've had 82,000 young people come through. And basically, in essence, what happens is a young person rocks up. They're with 40 others. They don't know each other. They lose their social media devices, etc. And they walk onto a ship, a tall ship, which is a big sailing craft. And what's really cool, mate, is you can sit on the wharf and watch people rock up in a Range Rover, and someone would have caught 3 trains there and have one pack and save bag with a jumper on it. So what happens is they walk on the ship and they get to become a community that has to build themselves, and things like socioeconomic standing, culture, your diversity, all those things become a level playing field and enables a young person basically to reinvent themselves. So, yes, we do sail, but that's really a byproduct. Really what it's about is coming together as a community, learning leadership, learning how to get on, going through adversity together, going through tough times together, pushing your boundaries. And over 10 days, it absolutely transforms the life of a young person. It's hard to describe. You've got to kind of see it. We find on our ship, day 6, it gets a bit feral. You've got 40 young people. You're at sea, it can get a bit feral, and everyone starts to get a bit sort of wild. And then day 7, something clicks, and there's this beautiful vulnerability that happens. And by day 9, we pass the ship over. They sail it, they run it, they vote their peers to be in charge. And then they come off, and then they're friends for life. And you walk down Queen Street, walk anywhere in New Zealand, and say Spirit of Adventure, someone would know someone or have done it themselves, and they would almost always say it changed their life.
Yeah,
the last 50 years. So
it's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool. And I think if you if you come from a different sort of environment. You know, when you have one place where it becomes equal, all the egos out the door, all the dramas, everything else, there's an escapism piece too, right? Doesn't matter if you're from, you know, the nice fancy Ponsonby spots or the Remueras all the way to South Auckland's or down the, I don't know, Christchurch's or the Gores or wherever it is. It kind of that equal playing field of just having like human connection is such a mega spot. So it's great like setup so that, you know, smash it with the corporate, doing a whole bunch of stuff now, helping these youth to the next spot. And, you know, each week we're going to be kind of, I guess, talking about something that's, I guess, on top of mind for yourself with what you're thinking about, what's bubbling away. And one of the things, I guess, to kick off with is you've been sort of talking about with, you know, been chatting with different CEOs and business leaders over this last little bit. And you've kind of got some, I guess you've got some unique insights to where their headspace is at with, I guess, business leadership within New Zealand right now, and are interested for your take on, I guess, what is Mr. Pilbrow learned this week?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, obviously, look, I don't know if you've banned the C word from your show or not, Robett, in regards to COVID, but we're sort of going through this period at the moment, and I've just been having sort of a beer or coffee with a couple of CEOs. And the most common thing we kind of feel is two things. Number one, we've lost momentum. And it's a horrible feeling to feel like you've lost momentum. Like up to August last year, personally, I felt like I was really cranking and doing some amazing stuff. And then, of course, the last 7 months has been, you know, interesting space in New Zealand. And I'm dealing with this sense of I've lost momentum. How do I get it back? And I guess I think about all businesses and all leaders that are probably feeling that way a little bit. And then the second thing that comes off that, and this has been interesting in a couple of conversations I've had, is that A, I've lost momentum, but B, then I kind of go into a blame culture and I almost start blaming myself for it. And start saying, oh, I've lost momentum, you know, what have I done? I could have done something better, you know, going through all that sort of negative stuff that goes through your head. And all that stops you from gaining momentum again. And I don't know, I feel with a couple of CEOs I've chatted to over the last couple of weeks, it's kind of like we've actually got to somehow say to ourselves, like, this is not our fault. This is something that's completely out of our control. We have no control, zero control. Yes, we can pivot. Yes, we can do things through the time. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And it's now about drawing a line in the sand and saying, well, that was then. What are we going to do now to move forward? What are we going to do as a business or a small business or as a leader to kind of make some steps to move forward and gain that momentum again? And it's sort of been the thing that's been on my mind over the last sort of month, I guess.
Well,
yeah, it's been tricky. As you know, same with you, right?
No, 100%. Interesting insight I'm thinking on that, Bruce, is when you're talking to these leaders at the top, you know, when they're running these organizations, whether it be like 10, 100, 1,000 different people, the buck stop was with them. Something goes wrong, their fault. Something happens, their fault. Everything, like anything doesn't go right, their fault. I think naturally the instinct of leaders in this sort of way is to take that brunt of the weight, because at the end of the day, within the organization, it is theirs. It's almost like, to your point though, when they still start to feel like either a bit down on themselves, whatever, as if it was their fault, realizing that it's elevating the conversation to like, this is beyond the business, this is beyond community, this is like a global thing which has impacted everyone in a different way. So not that you sort of ban the C word from it, but I think is the insight that you're thinking of is helping these leaders create a mental detachment between the potential resentment they have against themselves from within the business to actually like letting go of that, to realize that these other things they can't control, and as much power as they have as a CEO, they actually can't do shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think one of the biggest things I've learned over the last sort of 3 to 5 years is that we believe as CEOs, and I've had this, and I've done this, mate. I've done this a lot of times, that I've got to look like I've got it together. I've got to look like I'm 100%. I've got to look like that this doesn't bother me. And there's an element of truth there, right? You're right. The buck does stop with you. You know, you have an accountability to a board. But there's also a place for vulnerability. There's also a place where you kind of go, man, I'm struggling with this. I'm actually not feeling very motivated. And I did that with my team, actually. I sat down, we did a strategy session. I said, the reason why we're doing the strategy session is because I just feel flat. And I just feel like I've lost my mojo a little bit. And I'm just trying to see the wood between the trees and trying to get a pathway out. And I actually want you guys to help me with this. And I want us to do it together as a team. And it created this really cool moment. It was almost like a collective sigh in the room to kind of go, oh, okay, so you're feeling like that too. Great. Well, if you're feeling like that, that gives me permission to feel like that. And it's a great place to start when you want to rebuild something, rather than actually trying to avoid the truth and sort of run around in circles, sort of avoiding each other. And vulnerability is a really powerful thing. You know, Brené Brown, who's I'm a huge fan of, says, you know, vulnerability is not about crying in the corner. Vulnerability is about, are you willing to sit in the pain? Are you willing to sit in the discomfort and then work your way through it? And I guess that's what I'm challenging myself on, mate. And that's what I'm trying to challenge others on, is going, it is uncomfortable. It is painful. So let's sit in it, but let's work our way through it. So yeah, some challenges, eh?
It's a good one there if the answer to that is actually for the leadership to come down to the people and work together on it to build back up. There's probably an insight there where even though the buck stops with you, because you're all in it together, like creating that flat structure the same way you've got on your Spirit of Adventure boats where everyone comes in, it's all flat. It's probably the same thing, Raoul, in that those leaders showing those vulnerability to their staff probably humanizes them a lot more. So it's not just the ivory tower staff looking down. And I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic, which probably goes to separate the good leaders of, do they have enough, self-awareness and humility to be able to have those conversations in a room full of power, right? But it's pretty mega. Yeah. So, before we bail off, and I'm keen, like if there is one like little sort of tidbit of something that you're thinking about for the next 7 days, what's in your head right now?
One little sort of tip. I actually think go and find someone to have a cup of coffee with, right? Go and find someone. Think about, take some time now. Think about who are the 2 or 3 people I could talk to this week that have an attitude of moving forward and can give me some, I guess, encouragement. Because often relationships can be 2 things. There's relationships where people take things off you, and there's relationships where people give to you. And I'd say if you're feeling this way, go and hunt those relationships that give to you, and go and have a chat. Be open and be vulnerable, and I think you'll get rewarded for it. And I certainly have over the last couple of weeks, sort of taking the attitude on board.
Good on you, man. Hey, last question. Someone just texted through. Hey, bro, can you ask him how old you can be to be on the Spirit of Adventure? I'm 41. Cheers, Todd.
So 16 to 18, but we do an adult voyage. So that's coming. I can't remember exactly when it is. If you go on our website, spiritofadventure.org.nz, rock in there and have a look, and you better find a voyage for an adult, and it'll change your life. It's amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it.
My man. Hey, appreciate your time. Episode 1 with you. We'll come up with a better name than Uncle Bruce for next week. We can text through on some stuff. Appreciate it. Good insights and learning, my friend. Absolutely mega.
All right. Keep well.
There we have it. Captain Bruce, absolute champ. Before we kick into the next hour, it's now 1:58 in Auckland time, 5:58 San Fran time. Coming up after this, we're going to be going to Mark Peer to talk about sports. I'm super hyped. Hopefully he's going to be jumping in the mix there. You there, Mark?
I am indeed.
Brother.
How are you, my man? My man. It's been so long.
Let's go. How cool is it?
Get it.
I go from like randomly like this into sport. So like, we've had a great show. It's been awesome. But, I'm just wanting to jump into, will Duke make it through with March Madness with Coquet? Is Las Vegas Raiders going to go with, now we've got Devontae Adams come over from Green Bay. Should Sonny Bill fight Joseph Parker? What are we going to do, Mark? I'm excited for the show. Tell me what's coming up.
Yeah, no, we kick it off with our first interview is going to be Cameron George. We're bringing it back. Warriors fans got a little excited. They've got their first win on the board after last night's victory over the Tigers. But, mate, we got so much packed into the show. Can I just say it was an absolute honour to be following you up, running the cutter for you, mate. Top show.
Tell Cam I said what up. He's an absolute good bastard. Hope you enjoy it. This has been sweet. TT, do we finish out of here now? Are we done? Is this it? Thanks so much for listening and watching, everybody. This has been great. Robett Live, episode 302, but number 1 on Today FM. Hope you've enjoyed it. This is my first time ever. I'll see you next week. Deuces.
Good shit, bro.